The New Jersey Devils have won 3 of their last 4, but it's probably too little too late as far as the playoffs go. Trey Matthews of Locked On Devils joins us to discuss where the team is at and where the team is going. All that and more coming up on today's Locked On NHL podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome, everybody, to the Monday edition of the Locked On NHL podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On NHL your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you can get new episodes as soon as they drop. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. It is my pleasure to welcome back to the show the host of Locked On New Jersey Devils, Trey Matthews. And Trey, 3 of the last 4, but that one loss really did hurt this team. Where are they at as we head into the home stretch of the season?
Honestly, they're holding on to a prayer. That's the best way I could put it. It's still possible that the New Jersey Devils can sneak their way into the playoffs, but not likely because it's not enough for them to just win out. They're going to have to get some help from their opponents, and the teams are ahead of them in the wild card. That's definitely a tall order, and they've had opportunities to close the gap between them and the Detroit Red Wings for that second position in the wild card, but that loss to the Ottawa Senators, I think that's what really did them in. At this point, the Devils can only afford to lose, 2 more games, and to close out the season, they got to face Auston Matthews and the Toronto Maple Leafs 3 times, which is not an easy thing to do.
What happened against Ottawa? I mean, the previous game, you beat a very talented Winnipeg Jets team. After the Ottawa game, you blank my New York Islanders. Is it a consistency issue with this team?
Yes, absolutely. The only thing that's been consistent with this Devils team is their inconsistency, because the last time that they won 3 games in a row, you would have to go back to late December. And the amount of times that they have won back-to-back games in the calendar year 2024, 0. So that's where I'm at in terms of them trying to rack up these wins. I really do want to believe in them, but they haven't shown me that they're capable of doing so. It's been really hard for them to win just 2 games in a row. And forget about what other teams might have to do. At the conclusion of the Senators game, Bryce Salvador said on air, the Devils are going to have to win 9 of their next 11 games. Obviously, they won against the Islanders just recently in very good fashion. Kaapo Kähkönen, he recorded a shutout, and hoping for the best for Nico Hischier. Luckily, he was able to continue. But it's just not enough. Unfortunately, the Devils, they've just shot themselves in the foot because they've left a lot of points on the board. With all due respect, losing to the Sharks, losing to the Canadiens, losing to the Ducks, losing to the Blue Jackets. I'm probably forgetting a few other teams, but losing to those types of teams that you could have come away with the win. You could have at least gotten 1 point, 1 or both those points. And now you're in a very awkward situation where you're on the outside looking in. The season is winding down, and it's not enough for you to just win out. You're going to need some help.
You mentioned Kaapo Kähkönen, and goaltending has been an issue all season for the New Jersey Devils. They bring in 2 new goalies at the trade deadline. Have they found a goalie that they're going to stick with and build around, or is this search ongoing?
I hope this search is ongoing because this is exactly what I'm fearing. I'm fearing that Jake Allen and Kaapo Kähkönen, they have been phenomenal for New Jersey. They've been, I guess, the goalies that New Jersey's been looking for, which is just someone that you can rely on in net. But the problem I'm having is that what if Tom Fitzgerald is convinced that these 2 goalies can possibly take the Devils to the promised land, and then we're in a situation where it's Vitek Vanecek and Akira Schmid all over again? That's my fear. In my opinion, no. Kaapo Kähkönen, he's been great for New Jersey. I'll give him credit where credit is rightfully earned. but I don't think the tandem of Allen and Kakkonen is going to work for New Jersey. So best case scenario, just let Kakkonen walk in free agency. That's the whole reason why you traded away Vitek Vanecek, so that way you didn't have to have him for this year and also next year. Kakkonen is a pending unrestricted free agent. Let him walk for nothing. Jake Allen could be your backup, but now you need a pretty solid goalie at that starting position. Could it be Jacob Markstrom? I don't really know. Could it be UC Soros? I don't think so. It wouldn't make sense for the Predators to trade him. Could it be John Gibson? I hear his contract scares a lot of people. Elvis Merzlikins, I do want to be fair. He has gone through a lot, but according to some people that I've talked to for the Devils, they're not really sure about him in terms of his personality. Like, they say he's sort of a head case, and which is why, despite wanting out of Columbus, he's still there. That's my thing, which is, it's just like, I don't think Jake Allen and Kaapo Kakkonen should be the goalies moving forward. I think come next year, Jake Allen, if you want him to be backup, that's fine, but you need to find a top-notch goalie if you really are serious about getting back into the playoffs and making a legitimate run.
How about the coaching situation? Travis Green, an interim coach, is he back, or are they going in a completely new direction?
I hope they go in a completely new direction with Travis Green. I do like some of the stuff that he did. Like, for example, scratching Shimon Nemets just to give him a breather, because Shimon Nemets has been taking on a lot of responsibilities that I don't think he foresaw himself doing. And giving Alexander Holtz more chances. Alexander Holtz, has he been the best? No. But I still think he's very useful out there because he is a goal scorer. Yes, he has a lot of things to work on. He has to work on his stick work. He has to work on basically cleaning up the puck a little bit more and just make sure he cuts down on those turnovers. But I still think he could be serviceable for this Devils team. And I like that Travis Green has given him a longer leash compared to Lindy Ruff and also Tom Fitzgerald, the general manager. But in terms of being the permanent fix, no, thank you.
This team has dealt with a lot of injuries this season. We've talked about the goaltending situation. How close, if they stay healthy next year, do you think this team is to getting back into the playoffs and being a more serious contender?
You know, it's really hard to say, because I thought last offseason they were going to be a for sure playoff team because they got Tyler Toffoli. They got rid of Damon Severson, Ryan Graves. They thrusted Luke Hughes into a bigger role. I thought this team was going places this season. Unfortunately, injuries, like you said, weren't really their friend. And the only thing that was consistent about this Devils team, like I said, has been their inconsistency. And my thing is, like, I want to have faith in Tom Fitzgerald. I really do. But he's got to fix the issues, which is the Devils, they need a better goalie. No disrespect to Jake Allen. No disrespect to Kaapo Kakkonen. And they also need a more sandpaper type defenseman, because I think that's been one of the biggest issues for Devils, which is their defense as well. It's a two-way street. And I've said on my show many times, I don't think it's pick or choose, like which one is worse, goaltending or defense. I think it's a matter of, like, what can you get to try to fix the situation? And at the deadline, the Devils were able to get a couple goalies to help them out. So I think they potentially can get back to the playoffs. But Fitzgerald really needs to hammer on home. Here are the issues, and it was on full display this year. Defense, not all that effective. Goaltending, not all that effective. How do you fix it now?
Well, looks like a search for the next Ken Danico is out there somewhere for the
I've actually spoken to Dano about it. Like, I saw him in Vegas because he and Bill Spalding had the night off because they do the play-by-play and color commentator for MSG. I spoke to him. I said, "Hey, Dano, any chance you might want to, like, suit up and get back out there?" He just laughed and said, "Nope."
Well, they need someone to play that role for certain. Trey, why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners where they could find the podcast and where they could find you on social media?
They can find me on Twitter or X at TreyMat4, and you can find Locked On Devils wherever you get your podcast from. Available on all podcast streaming services and also YouTube.
All right, Trey, thanks so much. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Gil.
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. You shouldn't have to worry when you buy tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. They have killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and their best price guarantee, so Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. My favorite feature on Game Time, you go on the app and you can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Game Time has deals on tickets not only up to the start of the event, but even an hour after it starts. It is the place to find last-minute seats. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.